Hey y'all, and welcome back to How Do You Cook Back to Basics. So today I'm going to share with you how I make my pulled pork barbecue with my special root beer sauce. First thing you'll need is some olive oil for your frying pan. Now once your frying pan and your olive oil is nice and hot, you'll go ahead and put in your pork loin or pork roast or whatever you prefer to use in that frying pan and brown up all the sides of your roast. Now once your pork loin or pork roast is nicely browned, go ahead and put that in a nicely oiled crock pot. Make sure it fits really well. Now we're putting in 2 teaspoons of salt, a half a teaspoon of black pepper, 3/4 cup of chopped onion, and y'all, this is my secret ingredient right here, root beer. So I will be putting in 1 cup of root beer so that this can cook in. Y'all, look at how this root beer bubbles over this pork roast. So here I am arranging my onions, putting some of them back on the top of my roast. Now we're going to close the lid on our crock pot, set our crock pot on high for 4 hours. Y'all, look at how delicious this looks. So right here I am checking to see if it will actually pull apart, which it will. So I am going to go ahead and try to get that bone out of this pork roast. And y'all, as you can see, this bone pulled right off of that pork roast. So I couldn't get it out with my fork, so I went ahead and got it out with my fingers. So now I'm going in here and checking to see if there are any more bones in my roast, which there are not. And now I'm draining the liquid from my roast into a colander. And once that's drained, I will be putting my roast back in the crock pot. So here I have 2 forks that I'm using to shred my pork. You can make it as fine or as chunky as you like. It's your preference, whatever you like. So now I will be putting in my ingredients that make up my sauce in my barbecue. The first thing I'm putting in is a 1 12-ounce bottle of chili sauce and 2 cups of root beer. You can use whatever kind of root beer you prefer, but the one thing you do not need to do is use diet. You need to use the full flavored root beer in this recipe. Give that a really good stir. And y'all, I almost forgot to add one ingredient, and that is my salt. Right here I'm adding a half of a teaspoon of salt. Give that a really good stir. Cover your crock pot back up and let it simmer on low or high or whatever you prefer. And enjoy, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this episode on How Do You Cook Back to Basics. Until next time, bye-bye now. Hello and welcome back to How Do You Cook Back to Basics. Today I'm going to share with you how I make my tender oven-baked baby back ribs. You'll start off with a nice thick slab of baby back ribs. You will open up that package, rinse those ribs off really well, then get a paper towel of some sort so you can get any excess water that is still remaining on the front, sides, and bottom of your ribs. Now we're going to remove the membrane from the back of your ribs. You'll need a pretty sharp knife to get this started. Look for one end of your ribs and try to find a small opening underneath that side of the membrane on your ribs, and just carefully work that knife underneath that membrane until you have enough of the membrane to where you can actually grab a hold of it and just pull it from one side to the other. So here is what that membrane looks like, y'all. It is so rubbery and tough, and you really don't want to bite down into your ribs and try to chew through that. So you are going to think I am insane, but I'm going to cut this slab of ribs in half only because I am seasoning each side of this slab of ribs with different types of seasoning. I am doing an experiment just to see exactly which spices I like the best. So y'all, can you see how nice and thick this slab of ribs is? Oh my goodness, it's so good, y'all. So now what we're going to do is trim off some of the excess fat that is remaining on this rib. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. It's a personal preference. I don't remove every single bit of the fat. I just remove some of it. So take your paper towel once again and make sure that you have removed any excess water that is remaining on your ribs before you baste it and add your seasonings. Today we're going to be using Heinz Spicy Brown Mustard as the base of our half slabs of ribs. Grill Mates Applewood Rub for one of the half of slabs. And we're going to be using the award-winning Famous Dave's Rib Rub on the other. We're going to start off with our Heinz Spicy Brown Mustard. We're going to spread this all over the bottoms and the sides of each slab of ribs here. Make sure you get everything well coated. Now we're going to add our applewood rub on one half of the slab of ribs. Make sure you get that good and covered, y'all. Y'all, I had to remove that lid because it just was not coming out fast enough for me. So make sure you put enough of your spices on the top and the sides of your ribs here. Make sure you work those spices into your rib as much as you can. Now we're going to work on our other half slab of ribs with our Famous Dave's. So now we're going to repeat the top portion of our ribs just like we did the bottom and the sides. So now we're going to put our half slabs of ribs in a thick, heavy-duty aluminum foil. Try to make sure that you wrap your half racks of ribs as tight as you possibly can. Now we're going to wrap our ribs in another layer of heavy-duty aluminum foil. We want to make sure that we keep all those juices inside of those packets. Next, place your ribs on a lined aluminum baking sheet and place your ribs in a 350-degree oven for approximately 3 to 4 hours. I put mine in there for 3.5 hours, y'all, and look at how juicy and tender they look. I did not touch these ribs the entire time they were cooking. If you notice here, I did transfer our ribs to a baking dish so we can add our barbecue topping. I'm using Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce right here, and we're going to add a little bit of liquid smoke, not too much. Give it a quick stir, then add your barbecue sauce to the tops and the sides of your barbecue ribs. Place your ribs back in the oven for 30 more minutes at 350 degrees. Then you are ready to sink your teeth into these juicy, tender baby back ribs, y'all. Until next time, see you soon. Hey y'all, and welcome to How Do You Cook Back to Basics. So today I'm going to share with you how to make buttermilk fried chicken tenders. These are so good, so tender, but this recipe takes 2 days to prep. Whenever I decide to make chicken, I always make sure I have all my wet ingredients the day before and get all of those prepped and get my chicken into my seasoned buttermilk. Let that sit in the refrigerator for 24 hours. So let's get started, y'all, because I don't want to wait any longer. I'm ready to fry these up and I'm ready to eat. So let's get started, y'all. Today I'm using Sanderson Farms chicken tenderloins. You'll want to open up that package and make sure it's completely opened. Now you'll need to wash your hands very well before handling your chicken tenders. Then you're going to grab your chicken tenders one by one and rinse each one of those off really well. Place your rinsed chicken tenderloins on a paper towel lined plate. Wash your hands very well once you've handled those. Now you'll want to get 2 paper towels or how many you want to use and press firmly against your chicken tenders to get any remaining water off of those chicken tenders. Wash your hands once again. Then we're going to prepare our buttermilk seasoning. You'll need 2 cups of whole buttermilk, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of white pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1 5 or 6 ounce bottle of hot sauce. Any brand will do. Now we're going to give this a good stir and make sure that those spices are well incorporated into your buttermilk. Now we're going to add our chicken to our buttermilk mixture. So now we're going to stir up these chicken tenders and make sure each and every one of them are covered in buttermilk. Cover, then place in the refrigerator. Now that our chicken has been in the refrigerator for 24 hours, we need to go ahead and take that out. This is crucial right here, y'all. You need to take your chicken out of the refrigerator about an hour before you decide to fry it. So you want to get your chicken to room temperature as close as you can. So I'm going to go ahead and get my chicken out and let that be sitting while I'm getting my dredge ready. So we'll be back in a minute, y'all. You'll want to start off with 2½ cups of all-purpose flour. Second cup, there's my half. We have 1 tablespoon of paprika, 1½ teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of black pepper. And we cannot forget one of the most important parts when frying chicken to make it nice and crispy. We're gonna place 3 teaspoons of baking powder in here. We're just gonna mix all this till it's all well incorporated. You can actually make this the day before when you're making your wet ingredients if you want, so you don't have to get this ready the day you're frying. If you don't want to, you could just whip it up and put it in the refrigerator the night before and you'll have it all ready, and that'll save you some time right there. Okay, we are ready to dredge our chicken in our dry mixture. Now this is where it becomes very messy. So I'm just gonna move the chicken around a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and put one of these chicken strips in our flour and just cover it up best you can. Make sure you work that flour into that chicken. So this is what it looks like right here, y'all. Now I'm gonna set this over on my pan and let that be sitting while we get the rest of our chicken together. Now you'll want to try to get as much of this hot sauce and buttermilk off of your chicken best you can. Now the hot sauce that's in the buttermilk is not hot at all. It just gives it an amazing flavor. Now this wet mixture right here, you'll want to throw it away. You do not reuse your buttermilk soak. You do not save that. That has to be tossed out. So now we're going to let these sit for about 30 more minutes and try to get these to room temperature the best that you can. Be back when we're ready to start frying, y'all. We are ready to start frying up our chicken. What I have in my cast iron skillet here is I have some peanut oil in here, and it's about 1 inch or so full. And I have a thermometer here to keep track of the heat. You don't want to cook your chicken too hot too fast, or it will burn your crust and the middle will not be done. My thermometer says 350 right now, but I really don't like that temperature. I think that's a little bit too high for me to start off. But I may go ahead and put 1 piece of chicken in here to cool it down a bit. Once you put your chicken in your grease, you need to leave it there for just a little bit until that crust is set so it doesn't pull away from your chicken. Okay, so our temp has come down a little bit. So I think it's safe to go ahead and put in some more of our pieces of chicken. You'll want your oil that you're frying your chicken strips in at least 300 degrees. I usually cook mine between 300 and 320. As you can see, I have a brand new tongs here. You do not want to put in your raw chicken tongs once your chicken has been cooking a little bit. That will be cross-contaminating, and you do not want to cross-contaminate your chicken. Y'all, look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? I'm going to check the temperature here in a minute on this one, because these chicken tenders, y'all, they cook up really, really fast. And you'll want to get yourself a regular size thermometer also. This is the one I have here. You'll want the inner portion of your chicken to be 165 degrees in the fattest part of your chicken tender. Once it reaches that temperature, your chicken is ready to come out of the frying pan. See, I'm gonna check this one. This is the fattest part of the chicken. So I'm gonna stick that right there. Not quite there yet. I'm gonna check this one again, y'all. This one's good to go, y'all. We're gonna take this one out of the frying pan. We're gonna put this on a wire rack, and we have some paper towels underneath to catch the excess oil. Okay, these are ready to come out of the frying pan. Y'all, it is taste test time, and I cannot wait to sink my teeth into this juicy, tender chicken tender here. Tender chicken tender. Hey, there you go. My mouth's been watering all day waiting on these things. I'm gonna give it a try for you all. Y'all, this is delicious. Well, that wraps up this episode on How Do You Cook Back to Basics. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please hit that like button, and please do consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. Until next time, bye-bye now. Hey y'all, and welcome to How Do You Cook Back to Basics. One of my viewers on the channel has made a special request. This viewer has requested that I make a lasagna on the channel. And y'all, I have not had a homemade lasagna and I don't know when. And I don't think I've ever made my husband one. So y'all, today I'm gonna show you how simple and easy it is to make a homemade lasagna. So let's get started. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna brown up 3 pounds of ground beef. This is a 73-27 combination. You can use any kind you want. You can even use ground turkey if you like. But I'm using 3 pounds. You don't have to use that much if you don't want. I'm turning my heat on high, and I'm gonna break this up a little bit. I like to get my ground beef and my sauce ready before I even cook my lasagna noodles. That way this is done, and once your lasagna noodles are ready, then you can begin your layering. So now that our ground beef has started cooking, we're gonna add 1 small chopped onion to the mix. And we're gonna cook that in with the ground beef. So once your ground beef starts to cook really well, you'll need to lower your temperature on your stove eye or stove burner down to a medium high. And now that our ground beef has cooked and has been drained, we're going to go ahead and add a couple of jars of Prego traditional spaghetti sauce. This is a 45-ounce jar here. I'm going to add both of these jars to this ground beef and let it be simmering while we're making our lasagna noodles. So now that our spaghetti sauce is in our ground beef here, I'm going to move this over to a different stove eye or stove burner, as some folks will call it, and we're going to begin making our lasagna noodles. So now we're going to get our water boiling so we can get our noodles in our pot and get those cooking up. So we're going to go ahead and add some salt to our water. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to our pot of water here. And this will help the lasagna noodles from sticking to each other. Okay, our water is boiling really well. Now we're going to add our lasagna noodles. These are great value lasagna noodles. And I normally put in 1 noodle at a time to prevent it from sticking to the other. And I try to put them in there catty corner from each other. Our lasagna noodles are completed cooking. I drained these and rinsed these with cold water so they're easier to handle. So I'm going to put these over to the side, and I have our delicious sauce right here ready to go. So here is our layered lasagna. This is the big pan right here. I thought I was recording when I was showing you all how to layer this, but for some reason my phone decided to just quit. So I'm going to show you how I layered this with a smaller pan because I'm making my husband's parents a pan of lasagna also. So we'll be right back. Okay, our pan is nice and oiled up, and I'm going to show you what all I have here. I have some Italian style cheese, shredded cheese. I have some mozzarella shredded cheese, and I have some Colby Jack shredded cheese, and I have some Philadelphia cream cheese here. Those are the cheeses we will be using. So first step, I'm going to layer the bottom of our dish very lightly. Make sure you get all up to those corners. Okay. Now I'm going to add our lasagna noodles. They may overlap just a little bit, but that's okay. Okay, so we're going to add another layer of our spaghetti sauce here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add our cheese. I'm putting on the mozzarella first. And there's no rule that says what kinds of cheeses to add to a lasagna. It is your choice on what cheeses to use and how much you want to use. There's no wrong or right way of making a lasagna as long as you like all of the flavors that's incorporated. As long as you like all the flavors. Put a little bit of Italian style on here. And we're going to add another layer of noodles. Some more sauce. And some more cheese. So this time I'm starting with Colby Jack. And now I'm going to start on my cream cheese. I just took a big block right there. I'm just going to pull off some of the cream cheeses and just put it in little dollops all over the lasagna. Gonna add a little bit more mozzarella on this one. And I think we can get one more layer, y'all. Our last layer of sauce. So this is how I layered our big lasagna. So I'm not going to cook this one tonight. I'm going to cook this one tomorrow for when I take this over to his parents' house tomorrow afternoon. But we're gonna cook our other one in the oven. Hold on a minute. Well, y'all, here is our lasagna. It is ready to go in the oven. This is the larger of the lasagnas that I made. This is a 9 by 13 baking dish. The lasagna noodles fit perfectly in this dish, and you do not have to cut the lasagna noodles at all. So I'm going to put this in a 350 degree oven until it is nice and bubbly and heated all the way through, and our cheeses on the top are nice and melty. And I'll let you know exactly how long it took in my oven, y'all. Well, y'all, it is time to try out this delicious lasagna for you all. This is what it looks like. It has so much cheese and so much of the sauce. It's perfect. It's time to try it out. Here's your bite, and here's mine. Oh my gosh. Y'all, this lasagna is killer. It is so good. You can taste all of the cheeses in here. And I think that Philadelphia cream cheese gives it that extra kick that you need for your lasagna. Now all you have to do is just buy all of your ingredients, cook them up, layer your lasagna, and pop it in the oven. I hope you all enjoyed this episode on how do you cook back to basics. And if you did, please hit that like button and please do consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos, y'all. Until next time, bye-bye now. Hey, y'all. Thank you for joining me for another episode on How Do You Cook Back to Basics. Today, we're going to make meatloaf. It's one of my favorites, and it's one of my husband's favorites also. So, if you don't want to miss out on anything, stick around. Okay, y'all. I'm going to show you how my mother taught me how to make meatloaf back in the day. You really don't need much. You don't need all of these special ingredients that everybody keeps saying that you need. So basically what you need are some crackers. I have some crackers here. And what I normally do is I just take a handful of crackers like this and I just crush them up into my mixing bowl. I usually use about a half a packet of saltine crackers out of a big pack. I used a big pack of crackers, and I might need a couple more. Okay, that's all you do. You just crack up the crackers just like that. Now, if you don't have crackers in your pantry and you have regular oatmeal, you can use oatmeal. Not the instant type, just like quick oats or old-fashioned oats. You can use those instead of crackers, or you can use regular bread, because I learned how to make it with bread originally, but I like crackers in mine instead. Okay, so let me get my meat out here. I didn't have it ready. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use 2 pounds of hamburger meat. I don't use the real lean hamburger meat because it just really doesn't give that good of a flavor. It's not as good to me, in my opinion. I mean, you can use whatever you want to use. You can use ground turkey, ground chuck, ground round, just whatever you like. But right now, that's about 1 pound of hamburger meat. And I may go ahead and use a little bit more. I usually cook it with 2 pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and get about a little bit more hamburger meat. Add a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so you have your crackers down at the bottom. And you add your meat into the bowl. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and add 1 egg to my bowl, and for right now that's all I'm going to use, because your egg is what glues your meatloaf together, so I usually don't use too much stuff. So now what I'm going to use, I'm probably going to put in about a half a can of tomato sauce and about a half a can of diced tomatoes, chopped. And I'm going to use about a half of a small onion in my meatloaf, finely chopped, or chopped the way you like it to be. Okay, so right now I have my crackers in there, my meat, my ground meat, my tomato sauce, diced tomatoes, and onions, and my egg. I'm going to go ahead and add some pepper. And salt and pepper is just to taste. You don't have to add it if you don't want to, but I always add salt and pepper to my food. Add my salt. I think I'll put a little bit more pepper in there because I like pepper. Okay, now the fun part. So this is what it looks like before you start mixing it. So now I've already washed my hands beforehand, so now we get to go into the dirty work. I don't use a spoon for this. I always use my hands because it's just easier. Okay, so I'm going to go in and I'm just going to start mixing everything together and try to bring up those crackers from the bottom. Okay, so I do not need another egg, which is a good thing. So what I am going to do is add a little bit more tomato sauce because I like mine a little bit tomatoey, and a little bit more diced tomatoes. It's just a taste. It really depends on your preference on how much tomatoes you add, or if you even want tomatoes in your meatloaf anyway. So you really can't taste the tomatoes. It just kind of gives it that flavor that a meatloaf should have. I think we're just about finished. Whoops, see, there's some crackers right there that didn't get mixed up very well. So just make sure that your meatloaf gets in there really good. Everything's all mixed. Okay, y'all. It looks like it's ready to go in our pan. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna get my pan ready and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. Just wanted you to see this is what my meatloaf mixture looks like before I put it in the pan. So if you like other spices, you can add those in there, but this is just my basic simple meatloaf recipe and I really love it. I just really basically just throw things in there. Okay, so here's my pan that I'm going to use to cook my meatloaf in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start grabbing the meat from the bottom and just roll it on in there. Just like that. So now what you want to do is just kind of spread it out a little bit. Now, one of the tricks that I learned to making meatloaf is that when you make meatloaf, it's going to have grease in it when you're cooking. So in order for it to not just go all over the pan, you can like push down the sides a little bit so that if the grease is in there, it'll make a mold right in the side and it's easier to drain that way. Okay. Alright, so this is what my meatloaf looks like. It's ready to go in the oven. So I am going to cook my meatloaf in an oven at 375 degrees. Now I will continually check on it to see how much grease has been added or has accumulated in my meatloaf, and then I'm going to show you how I usually drain the grease throughout cooking my meatloaf. I'll be right back. Hey y'all, I told you I would show you what I do whenever my meatloaf got to where it needed to be degreased or drain some of the grease. So this is what I normally do. I usually take it out of the oven. Now, you can use a spoon if you want, if that's just easier for you, but this is how much grease is in my meatloaf right now. So what I normally do, I'm going to put this down. What I normally do is get my meatloaf and kind of just drain it into a bowl. I know you probably can't see that. Just drain it into a bowl very, very gently, the best you can, without tipping over your meatloaf into the bowl. That's how I do it, but I know that there's easier ways to do it. But I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in the oven. Okay, y'all. So this is how much grease came out of that already. So you just want to try to drain it throughout the cooking process of your meatloaf. So whenever my meatloaf gets close to being done, I'll show you what I do to put on the topping. Be back in a minute. I just took my meatloaf out of the oven because I think it's just about done. So I'm going to show you what I normally do to put a sauce on top of it. It's nothing fancy. Nothing fancy at all. You'll probably laugh when you see it, but this is my favorite topping on meatloaf. 100% hands down. Is ketchup. Yes, ketchup. Look at that. All I do is just squirt the top of it with a lot of ketchup, because I like that flavor. So there's a lot of ketchup right there. So then what I do is I just go around it and kind of evenly spread the ketchup all over it. And there's that. And then what I do is I put it right back in the oven to cook for the last 5 to 10 minutes that it needs to be in the oven, and then you're all set to go. All right, let's put that in there. All right, I'll be back when it's ready, y'all. Well, y'all, there's my meatloaf. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And you can always add extra ketchup to your meatloaf after you've sliced it and you're ready to eat it. Hey guys, so there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode on how do you cook back to basics and learning with me on how to make meatloaf. If you like this video, please click that thumbs up button and please subscribe, and please hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming recipes. Thank you so much, guys. Love you lots. Bye-bye. Hey guys, welcome back to How Do You Cook Back to Basics. Today we're making an oldie but goodie recipe. We're going to be making sauerkraut and smoked sausage. It's a good one around here, y'all. It never gets old. So what you want is a good Hillshire Farm smoked sausage. You'll want to open that package up just like that. And then you'll take that sausage link out of the package and place it on your cutting board. Now we are going to start cutting on the sausage at an angle. The slices are going to be about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick. This is how you want them for your pan, so we can get to frying. As you can see, I am cutting the whole sausage. Okay, now that our sausage is sliced, we're going to add that to our preheated pan. I added about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and I preheated that while I was slicing my smoked sausage. So your smoked sausage is normally fully cooked anyway when you buy it. So you really don't have to worry about anything being raw. You just brown your sausages to your desired consistency. I like mine to be nice and brown on both sides before I add my sauerkraut to my pan. So we're just going to sit here and let our smoked sausages just fry up a little bit, and once we get ready to stir it up, I'll probably speed up that process so you can see how we go about that. Be back in a minute, y'all. Okay, our sausage is ready to start stirring. So you'll want to try to get your spatula to unstick the first sausages of your pan, and then just stir along until they become the golden brown that you want. Like I said, I like mine a little bit darker. I don't like a barely fried smoked sausage. I like the flavor of the deep fry. So we'll be right back when we are finished frying up our sausages. Hey y'all, now it is time to add our sauerkraut. So I opened up a can of sauerkraut, and I don't believe there was very much water in there, but if there was any water, you would want to drain that water from that can. So you're going to want to add that entire can of sauerkraut to your pan. You don't want to degrease your sausages, because the sauerkraut will pick up those bits of cooking on the sausages that were stuck to the bottom of the pan. So we're gonna go ahead and add another half a can of sauerkraut. I used 1.5 cans of sauerkraut for this recipe. So what you want to do here is just turn your heat back up a little bit so that your pan can get hot again, and then you're going to want to heat up that sauerkraut with those sausages and just let all of those flavors mingle together. And if you see here, you can see that sauerkraut picked up all those little bits that were stuck to the bottom of the pan from when you were frying those sausages up. So you're just going to want to let this continue cooking and mingle along until it all marries together. I'll be right back, y'all. Hey y'all, our sauerkraut and smoked sausage is complete. So basically what you want to do is simmer your sauerkraut and your smoked sausage. Once your smoked sausage is complete, I like to make sure that my sauerkraut kind of takes on that flavor of the smoked sausage before I eat it. Well, that does it for this episode on how do you cook back to basics. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And please do consider subscribing to this channel, and please hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming recipes. Thank you again for joining me. Love you lots. See you soon. Bye bye. Hey y'all, and welcome back to How Do You Cook Back to Basics. So today I'm going to share with you how I make my simple, lazy crock-pot lasagna. You don't want to miss out on this one, y'all, because this is so simple and so easy. You do not want to miss out on any of it. So grab all your ingredients, y'all, and make this with me. First thing you'll need is 2 pounds of ground beef. What I'm using here is a lean ground beef, but you can use whatever you like in your lasagna. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add about a half of a medium onion that's already chopped. I'm gonna put that whole thing in this pan here and cook this onion along with my ground beef. And now what we wanna do is add 2 teaspoons of chopped garlic. Now you can use fresh garlic for this if you want, but I'm just using this just for some simplicity. And now what we want to do is we just want to brown our ground beef up, get that going good. I can't stress enough how easy this lasagna is. This is actually the hardest part right here, is getting your hamburger meat and stuff and your sauce together. But you don't want to miss out on any of these steps because this is so good, y'all. Our hamburger meat is done and it's been drained. So the next step is to add Italian seasonings. This is what I'm using right here. I'm gonna put 1 tablespoon, actually 1.5 tablespoons of Italian seasoning, and just set that to the side. Now, the fun part, we're gonna put in 2 of these jars of pasta sauce here. We'll put that in our hamburger meat. I just put all of the hamburger meat with sauce in a different pan so it wouldn't run over. We're just gonna heat this up a little bit. I'll probably turn it on high and I'll probably turn it down in a bit, but I just want all this to get a little bit warm before we start our layering. Okay, y'all, we are ready to begin layering our lasagna. So first thing you'll want to do though is you want to spray your crock pot, the sides and the bottom. This will keep anything from sticking to your crock pot. What I used to spray my crock pot was this Pam olive oil here, but you can use any kind. We're gonna go ahead and start with our tomato sauce here and just spread that out. Okay, and now we're gonna get our raviolis. Now I got cheese ravioli. So what you'll do is you'll just put that in there, and the ravioli that I got is frozen. And it's best to use frozen ravioli that's already prepared for your crock pot lasagna. And I'm gonna add a little bit of mozzarella cheese. A little bit of Parmesan. A little bit of ricotta. Now the ricotta comes in a container. And it doesn't have to be pretty when you're putting it in there. As long as it's in there, it doesn't have to be even. Just lay it in there, just like this. See what I'm doing? I've got some ricotta cheese on my spoon. I'm taking another spoon and just moving it off of there. Okay, next layer. You don't have to layer your lasagna exactly the way I did it. You can put your own spin on it and just layer it the way that you want to layer it. If you don't like as much cheese, you don't have to add as much cheese as I've used. I'm gonna put my last layer of cheese. Okay, so now what you want to do is you just want to clean up the sides, get all that cheese off of that side there. We're going to turn on the crock pot for 4 hours on high, and we're going to come back periodically and check on our lasagna and see how we are progressing. Well, y'all, our crock pot lasagna is completely ready to serve. Now what you'll want to do is take a spoon and kind of go all the way down to the bottom there before you begin to plate your lasagna. Now it's not going to be pretty when you pull it out of the crock pot there. It's just going to be a big blob, but you know, it's not like the traditional lasagna, but it tastes just as good, if not better. Well, y'all, it is taste test time, and I am so ready to eat. This lasagna smells so good, and it was so easy to make, and it only took 4 hours on high in my crock pot. So let's get to it, y'all. See if I can get little pieces of everything. Some of the ravioli, some of that cheese. Y'all, look at that. You see all that cheese? This is so good. I'm trying to get that cheese on there. There we go. Smells so good. Mmm. Mmm. All those flavors, all those different cheeses, and that sauce with those Italian seasonings, it's perfect. This is the easiest, lazy crock pot lasagna that you can find. And you cannot go wrong with what you want to put in your crock pot lasagna. Well, y'all, that wraps up this episode on How Do You Cook Back to Basics. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please hit that like button and please do consider subscribing to this channel. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming recipes. Till next time, y'all. Bye-bye now.